Hello, this is Brian with Alta Farms. Today we're going to have a quick training video over some of the key components of the farm. We're happy to have you at Alta Farms. It's a great place to work. When you come to the farm each day, the first thing I want you to do is to swap out your shoes into work appropriate shoes. Once you've swapped out your shoes, please step in the foot bath to clean the bottom of your soles. We want to keep as much gunk, grime, and insects outside the farm as possible. The next thing I want you to do is to put an approved clean apron on and wash your hands. So as you walk down the aisle, you'll get to this white cabinet. Here, you can store your jackets, purses, everything else for the day. You then grab an approved clean apron in this part of the cabinet, and you put it on, and then you would come over to the sink here and wash your hands. And use this, any antibacterial soap. Wash it several times. And then dry only with a paper towel. One of the first steps at Alta Farm is called harvesting. To harvest, first we come over to the channels. These white long trays are called channels, and we turn off the water. We want to make sure that the nutrient that is running throughout this hydroponic farm is turned off, so we don't drip any on the plants as we're harvesting. When we harvest, we need to make sure we have an apron on and gloves. We don't need gloves for the rest of the operations, but we do for harvest. So put on appropriate gloves and turn off the water for 5 minutes. So now that the channels are a little bit more dry, we're going to harvest. Take out the micro tube. Lift the channel up towards the sky, let it drain out the rest of the nutrient, and then you pull it straight out. Now these channels are quite long, so they're kind of awkward. Keep it close to your chest and kind of just lift it right out. And then we rest it on the black cart and we harvest. To do that, you take the bottom of the plant, like so, and you cut at the bottom. Nice clean cut. Put it in the harvest tub. And you just keep on going. You just keep on going. Every so often, you'll see an off-color leaf. Just pluck it off. We want the best of the best. We want to make it look really good for our restaurants and our customers. And you just keep doing it, leaving the roots at the bottom of the white channel. That's okay, we'll clean it later. And then you fill up the harvest cart. Cut. Now we are going to bag and weigh our arugula. But before we do that, we need to clean all surfaces. This is a spray bottle with Clorox and water solution that we will use. We spray down the table, and then we use the paper towel to clean it. And we would also do this with the scissors that I just used and the black cart. We spray everything and clean everything first before we use it. Now I know we just turned off the water to harvest, but as we are bagging and weighing, we would like to turn the water back on. So if you come look down here, this red valve controls the flow of the water. If it's ever like a T, like this, the water is shut off. We want to turn it back on, and you can look inside the channel here and you'll see the water flow again. We want to keep the water running basically at all times. So now that the table is sanitized and cleaned, we're going to harvest. You grab the crop, in this case it's arugula, grab it in bunches, put it in the bag. Now sometimes if it's really big, like basil, you kind of need to fold it in half like a sandwich and then push it in, but it will go. And then we kind of shake it down at the bottom. We're trying to get the best looking of each crop, and we're also trying to get 1 pound bags. 1 pound. So when we think we have it, we come over here and we use the scale, and if it's 1 pound, we're done. We would take off this red little seal here. It's kind of sticky and it's kind of hard. You take off the red seal, fold it over, make it look good. And because this tape is kind of bad, we'll use one additional piece of tape just on top to make sure it's closed. And then we take the 1 pound bag of whatever crop and we put it in these safe boxes. And this is how you harvest. The next step of Alta Farms is transplanting. It's another word for moving. We're moving one crop from one side of the farm to another part of the farm. In this case, we're moving 4-week crop from the nursery channel over to the finishing channel. The big difference is the finishing channels have 18 holes for more growth and more getting ready for harvesting after 6 weeks. Nursery, on the other hand, is 72 holes, and this is the middle step. So we take the crop, you unplug the water, and because it's the middle step, we would not turn off the valve. Keep the water flowing. Just put the micro tube into another one and keep it flowing. Same thing, we lift it up to the sky, let it drip, and pull it straight out. So if additional water does drip, it's just going on the floor right under the channels. Lift up all the basil. And then you would transplant or move the basil from the 72-hole nursery channel to the 18-hole finishing channel, just like so. And you need to have soft hands because these are new crop and they're still kind of babies. Try to grab by the roots at the bottom, but just have it straight up. And then when we're done, we would lift it back up, bring it over into the finishing section, and then as you can see, you need to push it all the way down, but you got to get it over that end lip. Soft hands, you lift it up, over the lip, into the collector, and then most importantly, plug it back in. We're in Utah, it's very dry. Always keep the channels plugged in with free-flowing nutrients. So Alta Farms turns over crop every 6 weeks. From seeding to harvest is about 6 weeks. When we seed, we would seed in these brown Oasis cubes, and I'll show you that in a sec. And we put it in on this table. This table is called propagation. Here, the seeds grow for 2 weeks, and this is a 2-week crop right about here. And then we transplant it, again, move to the 72-hole nursery section. And then from there, after 2 weeks, it would transplant to the 18-hole finishing section. So over the course of 6 weeks, we have a full crop. Now we are going to transplant from propagation to nursery. To get ready and prepare for transplanting from propagation to nursery, we need to grab a bucket of nutrient water from the propagation area. This is propagation again, reservoir, this big tank. Just grab a bucket of nutrient water and then you take it over to the table. We also need to make sure the table is clean. It is. We have a tray and a knife. So for transplanting propagation, you would take the knife and you would cut down. This brown thing is the median that it's growing in, each seed. It's called an oasis cube. You would cut down the line for the oasis cube into different individual cubes. And in this case, we are moving cilantro. So you cut it down like so, and then you take the oasis cube with the cilantro, dip it in the nutrient water about a half to 3/4 the way down, and then put it in the nursery channel. The reason we're dipping is because right now the seed and the plant is going under a lot of shock because it's so dry and they're moving holes. So we want to help them out a little and give them a jump start to the next section of the farm. So make sure you always dip it in the nutrient water and then put it up straight. If the oasis cube falls down in the channel, just use your hands and straighten it up straight. Now, every so often, we've missed a seed and it's empty, just throw it away. It doesn't do good to move it because it's already not growing. And this is propagation. We're now going to talk about seeding. At Alta Farms, we have many different crops, 2 types of seeds. There is non-pelleted, which is just a regular seed. These are very small. And we have pelleted seeds, which come in a clay outer coating. And I'm going to teach you the 3 ways that I know how to seed them. For non-pelleted arugula, we need about 7 to 8 per hole. We need about 7 to 8 seeds. So we would take a Gatorade cap, fill it with arugula seeds, and make a border like so. We are trying to get about 7 to 8 per hole, because for us to be successful, each of these rows needs to represent about 1.25 pounds of the crop. So it is important that we get every hole covered. You just fill it in, and then what I do is I grab the oasis sheet and I just shake it into the holes. Now, if the seeds fall on the table or on the ground, we do not reuse them. If they fall in this plastic tub, we can put them back in and reuse it. So we got it all in there. At this point, I would take the Gatorade cap, put some more arugula in there, and look in each hole with some pinched in my fingers, and I would fill in all the empty holes. We are trying to get 7 to 8 per hole. I think 3 is too few and 10 is too many. It's like too many fish in the fish tank. If you have too many seeds in here, they won't grow. They're all clamoring for water and sunlight. Now, some of the holes have like 15 in there. I would take the tweezers and pluck them out. So we go down to about 7 to 8. The second type of seeding is called water dripping. You would take unpelleted seeds and you would pour it in a small cup of water. Let the water get around the seed. And then you take this plastic and you would suck up the seeds into it. And then this one's kind of trickier. And then, so now we have some seeds there. And we would push it into each hole. And again, we try to get about 7 to 8 per hole. This is called water dripping. It's effective. I think it takes a little longer. The last type of seeding is using the vacuum for our pelleted seeds, the ones that are surrounded by clay. In this case, we're going to do butterhead lettuce. You pour the pelleted seeds in the vacuum, and then you turn the vacuum on, and then what I do is I carry it and I slowly shake it so every hole is covered by these pelleted butterhead lettuce seeds. It kind of takes some getting used to, and as you can see, we're filling up every hole with these pelleted seeds. Now, after you've done that, you leave the vacuum on so they stay in their position. I would dump out the rest of the seeds. It makes it easier to manage. And then this tub is cut so the vacuum can rest in here. And you just eyeball it on top of the Oasis sheet. And then you wait, you turn off the vacuum, and you see your work. Sometimes when you do the vacuum way with the pelleted seeds, they don't always get in the holes. In this case, just use the tweezers and push them into the nearest hole. What we want is we want every hole for lettuce to have one seed and not 2 or 0. So there's 2 more parts of seeding that I want to show. First, we need to water the seeds. We take a pitcher and we fill it up with the nutrient water in the propagation reservoir. We bring it over to the table. This is called Essential Plus. It's what gives the seeds the best chance for germination and growth. So we're going to pour some of this in the pitcher, and I go by color. So a little darker brown. Once we've added the Essential Plus, we take the pitcher and we've already moved the Oasis cube over to the propagation table right here. We're going to water it. Make sure when you water that nothing is left dry. We want to thoroughly soak it. And that's perfectly fine. once we've thoroughly soaked it, we want to make sure that everything is up and running. So, if you can take the camera down here, this white box right here is the timer, and currently our farm for propagation is the timer goes off at 8 in the morning, noon, 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Let's take the plug from the timer, plug it into the wall. This turns on the table, and now we can check to make sure that everything is getting correctly watered. Because if you just set it and forget it, sometimes these white oasis, or these white microtubes aren't watering. They've got algae gunk in them, and the whole crop will die. So this is very important. Always use a pitcher with Essential Plus, water it all down, and then turn on the table for a couple of minutes. We come back here, look at our table and our crop. Yep, it's getting water. Last thing we can do, take your hand and push it all down so that the Oasis cube gets under these white grooves right here. Because we don't want the Oasis cube to be above the water. We want the water to touch it like a river. So push it down with your hand, and then you come back here, turn off the water, and plug it back into the timer. Or else it'll keep running and running. And it'll turn on again at 8 p.m. That is seeding. So the last thing I want to go over is cleaning of the channels. When you come out to the back patio here, make sure you always close this door. When you come back in the farm, always use the foot bath. We always close the door because we want to keep the heat in the winter and the bugs out in the summer. So we're going to clean some white finishing channels, and these sawhorses need to be cleaned and sanitized with the Clorox spray bottle before every time we use it. This one was. These sawhorses can fit 6 channels comfortably. You can put 7, but one of them usually falls off. And I like to do 6 at a time so I can get done quicker. The steps are, first, we spray it all, give it a pre-soak, and make sure that the bucket here is where the crop is going to fall. Let's move this a little. So that way when we clean it, all the gunk can go in the tub and I can throw the gunk away once a week. So the first step to cleaning channels is to take the hose and to spray, give it a pre-soak. Okay, and then we would take this long black brushed pole. One thing I also do is I take the other dirty channels and I lay it out like this so the long pipe can rest on it, so you're not carrying the whole pipe with your hand. Instead, it's already resting on the other channels in the back. It makes it easier, better posture. So you grab the channel, push the black brush in, and you scoop out all the stuff to the end bucket. You use the black brush, you do another soak to get the gunk off. And I go kind of quick because I don't want to be here forever. We're going to call it good. Then you would grab this yellow brush with some cleaning sanitizer solution in it and just go over the top. Now sometimes the channels have gunk and grime and algae buildup in the corners, so it's good to watch that and to make sure you scrub it really good. Get it off. You take the sanitizer, yellow brush, and you just go over the entire top. Don't go in the middle, but you go on top. And then finally, you take one last hose and spray it down. So the steps were: pre-soak with water, use the long black brushed pipe, and then you do water again, and then yellow sanitizer brush, and then final soak. And now you can take these clean channels. I try to do 2 at a time to save me work. And you can take it back to the black cart, push it back inside, plug them back in their spot, and we're done.